And we are back. Welcome to my FPL Game Week 3 review and my early plans for Game Week 4, where, quite frankly, if your team Saland or team Haalah, whichever you want to call it, you'd have been looking at a minimum of 51 points last week, with both Salah and Haaland scoring 17 points respectively. And I posed the question when I did my initial draft, is it possible to do FPL this season without having Salah or Haaland in your teams? And well, quite frankly, as I just said, them two combined got 51 points. My entire team got 56. So I only got 5 extra points from just those two players alone. And obviously everyone else who has Salah and Haaland had more than just Salah and Haaland. So they got multiple more points than I did. The average, to be fair, was only 64. So I'm only 8 points behind the average. But we're early on in the season now, and it's quite prevalent that clearly you do need to have at least one of Salah and Haaland. I think obviously the easier one to have is Salah because he's significantly cheaper. But when you look at the fixtures that are coming up as well for Manchester City and for Liverpool, Liverpool with Forest at home, City with Brentford at home, followed up by City at home to Arsenal and Liverpool at home to Bournemouth. And you've got to look at it and go, maybe you do need to have Salah and you do need to have Haaland. And like I say, a bare minimum, you need to have Salah. But this is the points that I got last week. Obviously, it was the first time my defence has really let me down. Yes, Trent still got 6. Could have got more if the goal wasn't disallowed. Robinson still got 4, but Konsa 2, Raya 2. Midfield, again, underperforming. The attack did all right. Eza getting 10 was good. Palmer getting 12 as my captain. Not exactly ideal, and like I said, that ultimately meant that I did end up on 56 points. The one thing I would say regarding the whole Salah and Haaland thing is, like the scout says right here, the pair of them have made the best ever start to FPL. So at this point in a season, no one has got as many points as Salah or Haaland respectively have at this point in an FPL season after just 3 game weeks. However, with that said, we have made it to the first international break of the season, and as is tradition with my FPL team, I have played my wild card already, and this is what I have made from what I've seen so far in this season. The reason I always do this on the international break is because we've now seen what sides are playing or who is playing for each of their respective sides going into this international break, so it gives you an indication of what players are going to be starting going into the next round of matches. And with this rolling over transfer thing that we've got going on, it means that I can spend the next 5 weeks with this team where I've got players that have varied fixtures across it. I can make changes to this team every single week without making any transfers for the next 5 weeks and allow myself to build up players who and which I think are going to do well going forward. Now, the reason why I've done the wildcard already, I actually did this wildcard on Sunday night after the Manchester United-Liverpool game had finished. That is because with the international break coming up, there are 2 reasons for it. Firstly, players are going to be making changes already, and that is going to affect player prices. I don't know if the likes of Salah and Haaland have gone up even more yet, because I got them in for 12.6 and 15.1. Salah is still 12.6. Haaland is now 15.2. So that's the first reason why I did it. So I've managed to save myself some money by getting these players in the team already. Secondly, of course, it is the international break, so multiple players could end up getting injured over the course of this international break, which means that I've got the luxury of already playing the wild card, in that if any of these players do get injured, I can still take them back out and put someone else in before the next game week starts, because the wild card remains active. It's not just something that you play and then disappears once you hit confirmed transfers. This is here for the entire week. If I want to take out my entire midfield and build an entire new midfield before game week 4 starts, I can do that. The wild card remains active. But this is the team that I've gone for, okay? I've actually gone for 2 4.5 million goalkeepers. I've broken my own tradition in regards to this. Now, it would be easy to just say, well, just go for Alisson. Liverpool have kept 3 clean sheets in a row. But Konate is cheaper than Alisson. So in my head, it makes more sense to have Konate because he's definitely going to be the one going forward. And like we've already spoken about, Forest at home, Bournemouth at home, Wolves away, Palace away. Genuinely, I could see Liverpool getting 7 clean sheets from their first 7 matches here. So I think it's important to have at least one Liverpool defender. So I'm going to go for Konate because he is cheaper than Alisson, which then frees up the budget to then have 2 4.5 million goalkeepers that I can switch between. For Bruggen, for Brighton, obviously they have some nice fixtures. Ipswich at home, Forest at home. He can go in for those next 2 weeks. and then Kepa Arrizabalaga. Once those fixtures are over, you then have Bournemouth having Southampton at home and Leicester away. So I've got good coverage from my goalkeepers for the next 4 weeks running. Digne's been playing left-back for Aston Villa. He's even earned himself a French international call-up, so he looks like he's going to be the one going forward. I still think Villa have some great fixtures: Everton, Wolves, Ipswich, potentially even Manchester United, Fulham, the way they've started their seasons. So he's in the team at 4.5. Robinson I'm keeping from my original team. Van der Ven, yes, he's got an injury, but he's going to be out for the international break, should be back afterwards. I'm not particularly fancying him against Arsenal, but then again, the likes of Brentford at home at 4.5, he's still a good one to have. And then Max Kilman, could have gone for a few of the West Ham defenders. I still might change him to Wan-Bissaka. The only reason he has got more points is because he got that goal against Crystal Palace. But again, West Ham are going into a period where the fixtures might be getting nicer for them. So I may go Wan-Bissaka over Kilman, but I do like Max Kilman in that regard. In terms of the midfield, I've kept Eze. I think Eze is a fantastic option still. We've already spoken about Crystal Palace's fixtures. I mean, look, Leicester, Man United, Everton. Okay, Liverpool's not great, but Forest, Spurs, Wolves, Fulham. I would expect Eze to still do well in those fixtures. So I'm going to keep him in the side. He could have been one I took out for someone a bit cheaper, but I've chosen against it. Palmer I've managed to keep in because obviously you've got to have Cole Palmer if you can have him. Rodgers I've kept as well. I still think he's due goals anytime soon. And then Minte I have gone for in midfield because he is looking very, very dangerous for Brighton. He's already picked himself up 2 assists. I think he's going to continue to keep playing for them. And again, Brighton's fixtures we already spoke about with Verbruggen. João Pedro, obviously the best cheap striker so far in the game outside of his actual teammate, Danny Welbeck. But I still think Pedro will be the most likely to do damage going forward. Evan Nilsson I have gone for because I think Bournemouth, again, we spoke about it with Kepa, may not have the best couple of fixtures for the next 2 weeks, but he doesn't have to play in those 2 weeks. He can sit on the bench until we're ready to start putting him in, and I do expect him to score goals, and that then frees up the budget for me to have Haaland and Mo Salah in my squads because we've already spoken about it. Those fixtures, you can't not have these two at the moment. Yes, I could have put a Luis Diaz in. Yes, I could have put a Diogo Jota in. Could have even potentially wriggled it to get a Foden or a De Bruyne in. But Salah's going to be taking penalties. Haaland's going to be taking penalties. They're the most likely to contribute. Salah's getting goals and assists at the moment. Goal and assist, goal and 2 assists. He's contributing all round. He's still the one that I think everyone should be looking to have. And it still leaves me 0.4 budget left over. So I could potentially still upgrade one of my defenders. I could still get budget in. I could move João Pedro out for another 6 million. I can move Evan Nilsson out for a 6.5 that's dropped to 6.4. There is still budget available for me to play with, but I'm going to leave it like that. And this is my team that, as things stand, going into the next week. As I've already spoken about, don't need Kepa, don't need Evan Nilsson, don't need Kilman, don't need Van der Ven for this opening week. But all of these players I would expect to have decent games. Verbruggen, Konate, Robinson, Digne, Palmer, Salah, Eze, Rodgers, Minte, Haalah. Done Haalah again. Haaland and João Pedro. At the moment, I've gone for Salah as the captain, but it really doesn't matter, I don't think, between these two, potentially even these 3 going into this game week. So that's what I've got as things stand. Obviously, barring injuries and anything else that comes up over this international break, I will make further changes. But before we go, we'll go to the Esso 99 League, where you will see I am sadly down in 80th place, which means I'm not even on the front page of my own league. I'm on 192 points, which sees me a whopping 62 already behind the leader, who has remained as Will Lawrence. He, of course, does have Haaland as his captain. Doesn't have Salah, but he's got the coverage of having Jota and Saka and Isak. Again, João Pedro doing the damage. So they've done well to actually keep themselves in the opening spot for this opening couple of game weeks. But the gap has been closed. I mean, there's actually 3 people on 254 at the moment. So you've got Benjamin and Clinton also here on 254. But Will have had more goals scored from his players so far this season. So do you know what? For the remit of fairness, let's see what they've got. See, they've played their wildcard for game week 3, which is fair enough. Again, getting Haaland and Salah into their teams. And then finally, of course, oh my word, this person is in so many leagues. And then, of course, Clinton then with the 93. Again, Haaland and Salah in their teams. So clearly that seems to be what people are looking for in terms of who they think they should have in their squads. I now have them as well. Have I made the right changes? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching as always. I will see you on Friday, where it will not be an FPL video. It will be an FUCL video, because we will be building our Champions League fantasy football team ahead of the launch of the new Champions League season, with, of course, a league code, etc., 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 going forward. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you there.